Hi, in this video I'll be going over the Reddit scraper that we did for Lab 5 for DSCI 560. So this video covers specifically the data scraping and data collection parts of the lab. So we have this script, we call it Reddit scraper. I'll just go over it quickly. So we have first just initializing the database. So in our case, we created two tables. One table that stores the data at the post level, so it stores things like title, body, author, and so on. The author is masked, by the way, so it's anonymized. So we're not actually storing the real usernames or the real username. And then we have a table at the image level, which links back to the post. So basically, for any post that has an image attached, we're using OCR to extract text from it. And so we're storing this in a separate table. So it has a foreign key for the post ID, and then it has the actual text that we extracted, and then we have like the URL for the image in case we needed to validate the OCR text or anything else that we might need. Then we have some helper methods for the collection and scraping part. So here we're anonymizing the user. Here we're cleaning the text, so we're removing anything that we don't need from it, like links, HTML tags, or anything else. Here we're extracting the text using OCR, using this library from Python. And then we're fetching and then collecting the posts. So in our case, the way we tackled it is we're going through all the sorting methods that are available for a given subreddit. So those are new, hot, top, and rising, and then we're scraping all the posts that are available in those. And the reason why we did it that way is because we're trying to essentially maximize the amount of posts that we can collect for a given subreddit, because the posts through the API are limited at 1,000. It doesn't allow you to get more than 1,000 posts for a given subreddit. But if you try to do it through different sorting methods in that subreddit, you're essentially collecting different posts, and then we combine them all at the end. So it's a way to sort of maximize the amount of data that we can collect. So that's this right here. And then we're also using the PRA API in order to retrieve the Reddit posts. So here we're just retrieving the Reddit posts and just going through them and just collecting the data that we need. And then finally we're just storing that in the database with this function. It does take a couple of minutes to run, especially because of the images part. So I'm not gonna run the script in the video, but you can see I just ran it here. You just have to run the script with Python. That's it. You don't need to pass in any arguments or anything. Just make sure you're on a virtual environment and you install the requirements file. Yeah, you'll see some useful logs here once it's fetching from a given sorting method like new, hot, top, and so on. It'll tell you how many unique posts it has collected so far, and then it just tells you that it's stored in the database. And that's it. Thank you.
I'm going to introduce the clustering part of our lab. This script is designed to cluster embeddings of Reddit posts. It uses parts of posts and their embeddings in the database as an example. The clustering method we chosen to perform on post embedding is k-means clustering. Before performing k-means clustering, we first normalize embeddings in order to ensure all dimension of embeddings contributes equally. The dimension of each embedding is 384, which is slightly large. So we also perform PCA after the normalization to reduce noises and avoid curse of dimensionalities. Here is the code for normalization, and here is the code for implementing PCA. After pre-processing embeddings, now we are going to implement k-means clustering. We will perform k-means clustering with k, which is the number of clusters ranged from 2 to 10, and choose the one with largest silhouette score, which measures how well separated and the cohesive clusters are. Here's the for root for this part. Moreover, within each number of clusters, we will also choose 20 different initialization and choose the one with highest silhouette score as the final cluster for that number of clusters. In this way, we can reduce the impact of initialization on clustering and make our clustering more stable and robust. Here's the code. The measurement of distance we use is cosine distance, because cosine similarities measures angle between vectors no magnitude, so two sentences with similar semantic meanings but different vector lengths will have cosine distance close to 0, which is ideal for embedding clusterings. Okay, finally we can see that the best option is to split the embedding into two clusters and obtain the silhouette score of 0.1503. Then we read the corresponding posts of embeddings and store them in a dictionary based on their cluster labels in order to extract common words in each cluster as their representative keywords. As a script here. Now we load a small English model in species package to perform normalization to unify words in different variation. Here's the code for it. Then we compute TF-IDF score of words within each cluster and get top 15 keywords with highest average TF-IDF score. We also filter out some meaningless keywords as in the format of numbers and has less than 4 digits to keep words represent years. After obtaining the keywords, we need to plot this embedding and use different colors to identify which cluster does each message belong to. This is a plotting script. Like we first use UMap to reduce the dimension of embeddings after PCA transformation into 2D. Then we use plotly function to plot it. Here is the cluster plot. We can apparently see that messages in two clusters are quite separated and only have a few missed cluster points. These are the keywords for the red cluster, and these are the keywords for the blue clusters. We can see that there are some overlap keywords. This might be because all posts are from the same trip topic on Reddit. Finally, we print out the top 5 posts that are closest to the centroid in each cluster to manually verify that if the content in each cluster are similar. Here are the top 5 posts in cluster 0. We can see that these posts are similar because each post all have repeated content. And these are the top 5 posts in cluster 1. We can see that they all talk about like vacations, girlfriend, wife, ages, resort, and recommendations, suggestions, advice. Okay, here is all part for introducing the clustering of our lab. Thank you.
Now I'll introduce the automation part and explain its workflow, and I will focus on the two main functions we implemented. So the first function is the automated pipeline, and this function is about building a fully automated pipeline for scraping, preprocessing, embedding, clustering, and storing the data. So here's the process. We load the script from the Reddit scraper .py file, which is introduced by my teammate previously, and then it can do the scraping and concatenate the data, and based on these two functions, we can concatenate the title, body, keywords, uh, and the OCR extracted image text into a single string, and then we use a sentence transformer model to generate the embeddings, which has 84 dimensions. We chose this method instead of Doc2Web because Jansen was difficult to install in Ubuntu, and sentence birds provides more accurate semantic representations. And after generating the embeddings, we perform a storage document vectors function. Here we will first perform the clustering using k-means, and my teammate will provide a more detailed explanation of the clustering part later. And then we store all the documents and vectors into ChromaDB, which is a vector database. So each document will be assigned a unique UID and also the cluster that they belong to. And finally, we will store the ID, the document, embedding, and the metadata into ChromaDB. This pipeline is managed by this automation.py file, and if we pass an argument like interval 10, then the entire process will automatically run every 10 minutes. It will continuously update MySQL and ChromaDB with fresh data. So if we run this command, then we can see it starts fetching the data and finally saved posts and images into database, and then it will load the data from MySQL and pre-process the data and load the pre-trained model and writing vectors into ChromaDB and finish this process. So this is how the first function works. And then let's move to the second function. The second function is clustering for new messages. So it allows us to interactively classify the messages provided by the user. And here's how it works. So from the command line, we can pass a new message, and then the program will call the info vectors, which is used to embed the new message. And then we will call this store new vector function, and here we will load the saved k-means model, and it will make a prediction of the new message. And then we will assign a new ID to this message and construct metadata. And finally, we will store the ID, the document, embedding, and metadata into ChromaDB. So this is how it works. If we pass a message argument and a new text, then it will pre-process this message, and it will do the embedding, and it will print out that new message belongs to cluster 1, and it will be stored in the vector database. So this is how the automation part works. And next, my teammate will give an explanation of the clustering results.